Hey you guys, this is Jess with Sourceful Journey, back with another video. I always like to get into the camera like that with you guys, but I wanted to do this little segment called How Spiritually Aware Are You? So I'll start it off on my end, and I'll be interested to see others' reactions too. And hopefully see others post on this topic as well, especially knowing that we're in 2026 and so much has been revealed over the years and continues to be revealed to us as a collective. And you have to ask yourself, how many people are truly aware or are truly awoke enough to realize that for quite some time we've been played as a collective? Without further ado, let's go. I'm so spiritually aware that I even knew up into my adult years that even as a child, what we were conditioned to believe was our interactions with beings that was considered imaginary friends was not imaginary friends. That those were truly spiritual beings trying to interact with us. I'm so spiritually aware that even now, even into my adult years, I still have those level of interactions with them daily, and it's actually intensified. I'm so spiritually aware that I've always been one to be so inquisitive, even when being brought up in the church, and wanting to know the why things are the way they are when it comes to the social conditioning within the brick and mortar setting, the building. Why is it that when it comes to the idea of God, source being viewed as a woman, it seems to ruffle a lot of feathers? To be so aware and understanding that the Bible, though it has so many great parts to it, it was altered and misconstrued in so many various ways to appease the powers that be, to keep the masses in a low vibe. I'm so spiritually aware that I understand, to truly understand self and to really become more aware of self, one has to go within and truly understand that we are all connected, and that we're all connected to one particular being, and that is Source, God, who's the head of it all. I'm so spiritually aware. I'm getting chills as I do this video. Oh my gosh. To understand that things are not happening to you, it's happening for you. I understand that thoughts become things, and that we are the ones that have the paintbrush when it's all said and done, and how we decide to paint out this narrative in this lifetime and many lifetimes to come. I am so spiritually aware that I know within self that what Source has laid out for me, no man can take down. I am spiritually aware enough where I understand that anyone who tries to intervene, whether it's in my own space or even in the next man's space or woman, however you want to go about it, I understand that for every action there is a reaction. If anyone tries to thwart and throw off anyone's plan just because of greed, just because of ego, it's going to only affect them in the worst way and their lineage to come. I am so spiritually aware that I understand that one should not even have the desire to want to go and look in people's Akashic records. I understand that the very vessels we look at in our day-to-day is not how they have always been in prior lifetimes to this one. I am spiritually enough aware to understand that amongst all of us, we actually hold various rankings when it comes to being in the spiritual sect, and that we should truly tread lightly amongst each other. We only know enough, for those of us who've done the research, in regards to our own rankings and such. But when it comes to the next person, we should tread lightly when it comes to any dealings amongst one another. Doing right by others, it alleviates that nonsense of something going awry, something going wrong. I'm so spiritually aware enough where I know that no man is better than the next one. That we are all equally just going through this thing called life in various forms because of what we agreed on doing prior to coming into this lifetime. I am so spiritually aware enough to know that if I feel any certain way about another individual, that that's not my spiritual being talking, that's ego that's kicking in, and knowing how to knock that out of the way immediately. I am so spiritually aware enough where I'm willing to help others to truly understand self more and to really have a different perspective when it comes to living through this thing called life and not being so consumed with the 3D dealings and really to focus on what you agreed to when you came into this lifetime. I'm so spiritually aware enough to understand that no man in the church building or not, I'm about to ruffle some feathers with this one, whether it's Catholic, Christian, Hindu, Islam, Taoism, whatever the case may be. No man who believes and stands the way I do can dictate what God has bestowed unto me in terms of my calling in this lifetime. And sadly enough, that's what they're afraid of. When you have that true connection with Source, with God, who's the head of it all, the very one who gave you breath, as I said in a lot of my older videos, you have that understanding that I don't need a building. I don't need another man to stand between me and Source, for Source to hear me. You are a force to be reckoned with, and they don't like that. And the sad part about it, they are too afraid to. They know they don't want to fuck with that either. I'm so spiritually aware where I know, even for those who have done wrong, to myself as an example, I'm sure a lot of you guys will agree with this, where I'm going with this one. So follow me. I'm so spiritually aware that I know that those individuals are operating out of ego. And a lot of times it's because it's something that they have not learned or completed in regards to their lesson. And to have grace and understand, just like others had to have grace with you, with certain things you had to get through in terms of passing your test, understanding that this is truly like a school. And they too have to learn how to pass the test. And you can't really force them to do it. They have to want to do it enough within themselves. But at the same time, again, the key factor in that part is while they're trying to figure this thing out and get through it, that ego of theirs, have grace for them. I'm spiritually aware enough where I understand that for me personally, being a popular loner could be pretty interesting. For some of you who understand where I'm coming from with this, you know when you're the type of individual that you don't even have to say anything. You could just walk into a room just because of the energy you carry, the room goes silent. And you haven't done anything to no one. It's not that. It's just because they feel your energy. Not many people care that, but for those of us who do, you know what I'm talking about. And I have to say that's pretty badass. I'm so spiritual enough where I understand the reason why a lot of people feel so consumed or feel the need to share their life stories with me, even random strangers, is because they see that anointing on me. As they will see the anointing on some of you guys. Again, I feel, even as I'm saying this, I'm feeling chills. So I know this video is going to come across the right screens who needs to see it. And a lot of you who are going to see it are going to know exactly what I'm talking about because you're encountering this as well. The fact that you can be that type of person when people just feel like, for some reason, I just feel like I know you from somewhere. Or they feel like, oh, they can just talk about their story and share so many details with you, and the day feels like it's flying by just because they're sitting there and you're listening. And the fact that they can see that you're listening with no judgment, because you understand that no one is perfect, including yourself. You understand that, again, getting through this thing called life, who are we to judge the next man, the next woman, the next kid, the next teen? Because teens could be a bit of a beast themselves. We've been there, right? But they understand, wow, there's something different about this person. Even down to the animals, whether it's birds, cats, dogs, those animals who have such a drawing to your energy. I've talked about this, so many stories about things I've encountered with birds, especially, and all types of things. If you guys look at my older videos, you'll see it. But even down to babies. When babies see you, they're just staring at you in such awe and smiling. There's something that they see and they feel, they know. It's a beautiful thing to witness. But I say all that to say, when things fall into that order, it's for a reason. It's because there's a light within you that the world needs to see. It's funny, because as I'm saying this, and you guys, a lot of you who are spiritually aware, you know how we get certain body sensations going. So for a while, and even right now, I don't know, well, no, I know why, but it's a habit of saying I don't know why, but I feel in my throat area starting to warm up. Usually a lot of us who are in a spiritual space, I think of it as meaning you're on a roll. You're saying what you need to be saying to get out. And I've encountered this quite a bit. And I think part of the reason why I personally encounter is because a lot of what I talk about on my channel is about life lessons, teaching, getting people to become aware of what's going on and how to understand how to maneuver through this thing called life. So as I'm speaking to you guys right now, my throat is warming up from the inside. So that lets me know I'm onto something. So again, if you come across this video, that means it was meant for you. I'm going to make sure I don't put no hashtags on this one and take that as your message. Kind of going back to that first initial statement I made about the helping with imaginary friends, right? I remember when I've had encounters before, and I used to always, it was some other things I used to always be drawn to, like with fire, things like that, with flames and things like that. It's just, anyhow, but I think what's funny is because I think, sadly enough, a lot of children, it's not a bad thing, children are exposed to imaginary friends, which we all know that those are spiritual beings who are trying to connect with us, and not in a bad way. That's another form of social conditioning, which is, in a sense, hindering people from being more aware of self and understanding that, again, you guys, what is underneath these meat suits? It's a spirit. Those very spirits that were interacting with children and even us adults. The point I want to drive home with this is that for some of us, we didn't shut that out. You know how when you go tell like an adult, like as a kid, like, oh, I saw this in my corner, or, so-and-so's over there. And, and a lot of people saying, oh, Jimmy, you're just imagining things. That's not happening. So from that point on, Jimmy hearing that, Jimmy's like, okay, I'm just imagining. Mommy said that I'm just imagining. And so that's when they begin to shut it out. Like, okay, I'm just seeing things. And then that whole connection of interacting with those beings are put to a halt, because they have now conditioned the child to believe that you're just going crazy, Jimmy. There's nothing in that corner. But then for some of us who came up in a household where we understand that can't all be true, and we've learned to leave those receptors open. We've learned to say, you know what, if it happens again, or I guess you can think of it like as a ghost whisperer, if it happens again, then I know something's up. For me personally, I remember I was told that I was conditioned to believe that, like, Jessica, no, you're just seeing things. It's nothing over in that corner, or you're not feeling that. But then as time progressed onward, as I got into my adult years, it started to become more vivid again, where I was actually seeing the figures and feeling the sensations. And I even talked about this in my videos. I'm finding that a lot of you have been encountering this too in your adult years as well, which tells me a lot of us have not completely shut it out because we knew that there had to be a deeper reason for why all of this was happening. I say all that to say, even with what I've encountered up until present day, I know for a fact it's not imaginary friends. And you guys have to admit, and you could even look at some of the videos I posted up where there was spiritual energy going through my spaces, things like that. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who's had these type of encounters. The beautiful thing about it now is, again, as I mentioned in one of my older videos, we have cameras and footage that is capturing a lot of this stuff now. And people have other tools, like ghost hunting tools, if you will. Which I don't like using that term, but you get it. We have so many pieces that we use or could utilize that is showing that, wait, the whole idea about imaginary friends is total bullshit. I say all that to say, even with that part, I am so solid and spiritually aware of self that I understand that they are forever with us, and we are truly, as I mentioned in one of my older videos, we are truly not alone. And that is all for this quick video, you guys. I'll be interested to hear some of you guys' stories. It'd be nice to see even some of your video responses. How spiritually aware are you in this day and age, in good old 2026? Think about your journey you've taken up into this point, all that has transpired in your day-to-day that led you to realize that a lot of what we were conditioned to believe due to social conditioning is false. A lot of what you were conditioned to believe, even in the church settings, regardless of which religion or regardless of the type of household you were coming up in, when you became aware that a lot of what was being thrown at you was false. And there was a deeper reason for why it was all happening, right? Think about the idea also when it comes to the whole notion of dark and light. Ooh, this is going to probably be a deeper topic nobody's ready for, but let's talk about it. I'll talk about it really quick here. Do you understand, you guys? When people say dark and light, the conditioning approach has always been that dark is evil, it's bad. Even if you look into the dictionary where you talk about the definition of the word black and of course how it's aligned to race and basically people of color, the reason why they're viewed as at the bottom of the totem pole, which they, again, is social conditioning, because technically we weren't at the bottom of the totem pole at the beginning of time. And too much footage is coming out about that to show that it was due to social conditioning over time that has now, in a sense, tried to paint this facade that we are at the bottom of the totem pole, but it was never really always the case. Outside of that, the whole idea about dark and light, the reality of it all, and I forgot to mention this part, and it just hit me to say this. I am so spiritually aware that I understand that every single being on the face of this earth, past, present, and future, we all embody dark and light energy. Think about that. Because at the end of the day, it's a balance. You cannot have one without the other, you guys. Think of it in the concept of yin and yang. Like, look at the symbol yin and yang, right? It's black and white. Let's just go ahead and go with that for right now. You can't have one without the other. I would just pray and hope that going forward, you guys, do your research. Be more thorough when it comes to understanding what is being given to you. Less television, more research. I'm not saying you have to sit down and read book after book. I'm not saying that, especially if that's not your jam. But find ways to be more aware of who you are on a spiritual level. Because again, that's what's running these meat suits, right? But at the same time, don't be so naive in taking everything you see for face value, such as on television. Truly take time out to understand what's being given to you, what's being thrown to you, and really sit on it, reflect on it, and just go from there. Your gut is never going to lead you wrong. I know you guys probably heard that saying before, but it's true. It's set up that way for a reason, spiritually. So yeah, I would like to hear you guys' thoughts. And if you actually do any recordings, I'd like to see your version of, you know, how spiritually aware are you? And it'd be nice to kind of keep this dialogue going. There were some other ones I wanted to say, and I should have wrote them down. I'm sure it's going to hit me at some point, but it'd be interesting to see if you guys do any responses, any video responses in regards to your site too. So until next time, you guys, I'm sending off with love and light, and I'll see you in the next video. Be blessed, everyone.